Hello my sweet beautiful friends and welcome to Style Thoughts by Rita. A lot has been going on in the actual Rita world, so there haven't been so many videos lately, but I have so many style thoughts, so hopefully I can, make some more videos for you guys in these coming weeks. And one of the kind of series of videos I've been wanting to make is a more in-depth discussion about my essence system that I created this summer. This system has been really well received. I think a lot of people really see themselves in the way that I present these concepts, and I have worked with so many people one-on-one or in my style group. I really think it's a very good tool. It's always kind of a simplification of our complex self, but I think as a tool it really helps people figure out what it is they want to be presenting about themselves and to feel safe and comfortable in being themselves and showing what they want to the world. So I think the system is really great, but what I want to do now is to make it easier for you beautiful viewers to use the system, and by that I mean to see yourself in the system, but also to actually implement it for everyday life. So in this first video, I'm going to be talking about this the logic of dressing. So I'm going to first explain what I mean by the logic of dressing and the difference versus aesthetics and other stuff I talked about. Then I'm going to explain a bit my take on the logic for left versus right, up versus down. But then towards the end of the video, I'm going to talk about tips for each quadrant so you can kind of orient yourself as you wish in this video. Starting with the logic of dressing and what I mean by that. In my original videos, I talked to you about, of course, the keyword combinations for each quadrant, but I also showed you celebrities, and I showed you, in some cases, aesthetic inspirations or just outfit inspirations. And I think this is, of course, really good because it gives you something concrete so you can intuitively kind of grasp what it is I'm talking about beyond just the keywords and kind of recognize the way the system functions. At the same time, I think there are definitely limitations with this approach of using celebrities or even aesthetic examples, because there are so many different types of people who watch my videos, and the majority of us are not kind of red carpet people with red carpet occasions. I have viewers across all ages in different countries and different family situations and jobs and stuff. So, your ability to relate to kind of the aesthetics I show or to some of the celebrities I suggest can definitely be limited. And that's not to say that the essence system cannot be useful for you, but I think that moving beyond what it can look like, and instead talking about how do I think that the people in the different quadrants are best served in approaching their style. That's kind of what I mean when I talk about the logic. And this is something I have discovered to be really, really helpful in my style consultations. I found we get really good feedback on this. So, and I think that it's just that basically the keyword combinations and the general essence in each quadrant, I think does really quite neatly tie into what is the best way for you to really start thinking about, what do I want to wear? How do I want to present myself? Okay, so let's talk about the actual logics. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the difference between the left and the right, because I think that's kind of the core essence difference. So on the left, we have the keywords sensual, intriguing, enveloping, gravity, elemental, the Gaia, right? So, and I think for this left essence, what I've found is that for you, or it is best to really approach the question of, what do I want to be wearing based on how do I feel? What do I want to show about myself? What do I want to express? So you're really kind of taking the inspiration based on yourself and where you are at rather than externally. So for example, if you are going to a party, rather than thinking about okay, what will other people be wearing, what is expected of me, what should I do, I would always start with okay, why am I even going to this party, and like what am like how am I doing, and what is it that I want to be wearing in this situation, basically, and really placing it on yourself. I don't mean that you should like disregard the dress code or, really dress in this way that is inappropriate, and I don't mean that. But I do mean that it's not really just helpful for you to try to think about it in terms of like, who's gonna be there? What are we doing? What do I want to bring? It's like you just always want to be kind of starting with yourself. And I've noticed that with my clients, when we talk about things, with planning, like creating new looks or something, it's always just easiest for you if you shift your focus to like, why am I going to this thing in the first place? Like, what does this mean to me in my life? And just where am I? Like, what type of clothes do I want to be wearing? Like, regardless of if I'm going out to brunch or if I'm going to the party, it's like, what do I want to wear? And just starting with that, kind of what do I want to express, maybe, like a trend I want to try, whatever. Just starting with yourself, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a more self-centered approach. And then on the right, where my keywords are dreamy, inspiring, luminous, radiant, refined, sun. I think that like for the right woman, instead of starting to think about the self, I think what's easiest is to start thinking about the situation and the context. So for example, if you work with people one-on-one, thinking about like, okay, what kind of like appointments do I have today? Or if you are going to a party, thinking about like, okay, like what's up with this party? Who's like throwing it? Like, what's it about? What is kind of the theme? What is the vibe? I don't mean that you need to be like fitting into the situations. I don't mean that you need to be making sure that you dress exactly the way these people expect you to. It's just that like the logic about the right person, I think that a lot of times it's about like the radiant and the dreaminess, like the concept. So I think it's always easier for you to get inspired and to think about what to wear if you like start your thinking with like, okay, where am I going with this? What type of situations am I showing up in? And what is it I want to bring to the situations? So I guess it's a little bit more like external focused, but it doesn't, like, again, it doesn't mean that you can't express yourself individually. This is more like how you can start to think about it. That's my left and right distinction. Now I want to talk about the up versus down distinction. Whereas the left versus the right is kind of like, how should I start thinking about like what to wear or what my style should be? My distinction for the up and down is really about like what am I trying to achieve? Like, what is my goal with dressing ultimately? So for the up, my keywords are mysterious, extravagant, glamorous, persona, dramatic, effort, a bit intimidating. And for this up lady, the thing that you're trying to achieve to me is always about making an impact. Okay, and making an impact does not mean I need to impress people. People need to think I'm like the best. I need to be like blah blah. It's not about like the weight of expectations necessarily, because you don't always want to make that type of impact. Again, it's just about thinking like, what is it? How do I want to be like received? Because in my experience, both the left up and the right up women, they're really trying to like be kind of received in a special way. So it's about like, in this situation, do I want to kind of be like sweet and relatable? Do I just want to kind of fit in so people aren't really noticing me? Do I want to have like authority? Do I want to communicate some aspect of like my personality? So it's really about like starting the process and thinking about like, okay, what's the impact I want to make, and evaluating your style also on like, okay, I want to make an impact. What impact do I want to make? I think that in our culture, because there's so much pressure for people to actually make an impact with their clothes. Sometimes we give people this advice like, well, it doesn't matter like what you wear, and it doesn't matter what people think, just be you, you know, and as long as you're being yourself, you're happy. And I think this is really beautiful advice. It's so important that we have this. And even for the up people, of course, you have to be true to yourself. Like, of course, you have to be like authentic and you have to be happy. But in my experience, it's like a lot of your authenticity is filtered through the impact you want to make. Like a big part of the authentic you is the impression you want to be making and like the thing you want to achieve with your look. So it's very okay for you to like honor that desire and to see that as an important part of yourself. Okay, and then that's for the up. For the down, my keywords are approachable, ease, understated, delicate, intuitive, and personable. So for the down lady, what I really see as like the goal and the thing you're trying to achieve is really self-focused. So it's kind of like self-approval, self-satisfaction. Just basically like this feeling like if you feel good about it and you like the outfit, that's really the thing you're trying to accomplish. So that's the thing I just said about where we're like trying to encourage people to just be themselves. It's like that is literally you. It is just like you can get caught up sometimes as a down lady in thinking like, you know, am I cool enough? Is this like interesting enough? Is this fancy enough? Like, am I like, is my outfit making a statement? Like, should I be making a statement? And it's like, well, if you want to be making a statement, and that's the thing that is like really feels good for you, like absolutely. So I don't mean that you're not allowed to want to make an impact. I'm just saying that like whether or not you make an impact is like a separate question from you for you, with like whether or not you really feel like the outfit is like good, that it is like representative of you, that it is comfortable for you, and that it's just like, yeah, it just feels like you and it feels like a good outfit. And okay, I know like now right now a bunch of people watching this video are gonna be like, oh, now I'm so confused because if I don't feel good about an outfit, like I don't feel like I can wear it, but I thought I was up. And it's like, yes, we're all human beings. And like I just want to like, I know this caveat might be annoying, but it's like we're all human beings. We all want to make an impact with our clothes to be seen, and we all want to feel good about ourselves, and we all want to feel good in our bodies. So it's like, I'm not saying that like, oh, if you're up, you're this, if you're down, you're that. I'm just saying like, I think that the logic in terms of like ultimately what is like the most tends to be the best way of thinking about clothes for you is to weigh it up in this terms of the making the impact versus kind of self-approval framework. And I think that this would be the most like fruitful for you, but not to say that thinking about your impact or approving of your clothes is off the table. I mean, I love to approve of myself and my clothes, even though I see myself as having the up essence. It's just that for me, kind of the impact I make just matters more, I guess. It's more important for me when I'm thinking about what to wear. So I hope that you have understood this kind of basic right versus left distinction. So now I want to just walk through the different quadrants and talk to you a little bit like I would talk to you if we were having a style talk and I was trying to encourage you a bit with the style based on what we just talked about with the logics. Starting with the left up quadrant, so there you are dressing based on kind of how you feel and what you want to express, but you are dressing to make an impact, right? So, and this is totally like understandable also if you think about the celebrities I showed you for the left up, or if you think about the archetype, like the trendsetter or the enchantress, they're really about the impact you want to make. And I find that for the left up women, I find that we have a lot of like just very unique individuals here in this group who really feel like called to express this individuality with clothes that don't have to be like super avant-garde, but they're just like just unique, they're intriguing, they're kind of striking, they're mysterious. So as you lean into these like leftness, for you a lot of time is the intrigue, the gravity, the enveloping. It's like you're choosing clothes that are actually something is unique about them. Maybe it's like a rich color, maybe it's a bit of a more sweeping line, Maybe it's just heavier jewelry than people in your neighborhood wear, right? It doesn't need to be off the charts, but it is about leaning into that like unique you that really makes you you. And at the same time, yeah, like while you're thinking about this, being very expressive and really bringing up like how you feel and what you want, the end goal for you is the impact you want to make, because I find that for my left up women, like it's really important for you to be seen and kind of to be recognized. So maybe not to be liked necessarily, maybe not to be accepted, but a lot of the times you want to make the impact of you being seen, kind of being just telegraphing to other people like immediately, like, you know, I'm not like, I'm not your average girl type of vibes. Like there's just something a bit intriguing. You want to, a lot of times the impact left up women want to achieve is they really want to bring people into them. Like you want people to come talk to you. I have found, and that's kind of what you're doing when you're creating this persona, this bit extravagance. I tell people often like, you want to be this kind of like exotic, beautiful flower, and you just want people to see you and be really intrigued and like, ooh, like I would like to, you know, be with this person. And right away they know that, you know, there's something a little bit like interesting, something a little bit mysterious about you. Not that you have to be super mysterious. Okay, it's a system with 4 categories. I have to be a bit reductive. So that's the left upness. Is for me is really working with the concept of like, what do I want to express in the world? Kind of artistic, a little maybe trendy, maybe innovative, just a little bit different in your own way, but really wanting to land something, whether that's just to show my individuality, whether that's to be like seen, or whether that's like to attract people. There's a lot of times a desire really to make this like impact on the world. That's left up. So in the right up universe, you are looking to dress based on your situations and environments, and the goal you're trying to achieve is making an impact. And I sometimes feel like when I tell right up women this, I almost feel a little bit guilty, because I'm like, yeah, it seems a little bit like other people centered, because it's like you're kind of choosing your clothes based on what you're up to, and you're choosing your clothes to make an impact. But it's really, so it's like, it's super duper important that in the right up quadrant you like really stay authentic to yourself and not get carried away with like doing these performative things on like what people expect from you. So I really want to like underline that that's really not what I mean. I really don't mean that what you need to do is just be this really average person who people like, and that's, you know, like that's the thing you're trying to achieve. What I mean though is that like for you, you have this, I find for right up women with this very like inspiring, radiant, luminous persona with a bit of extravagance. It's a very like energetically powerful place. You don't have to be super outgoing or like socially dominant or whatever, but it is a place of like strength. I feel a lot of women want to like exercise kind of some sort of strength, and that's also with the archetypes in this quadrant where I talk about like the priestess or the role model. They're very like influential. So it's really not about you trying to dance to some other people's tune. It really is about you dressing yourself in a way that allows for you to like make that contribution that you want to make to the world. I talk a lot about how right up women, a lot of times you have this vibe where people really want to like look up to you, or they even want to impress you. So sometimes it's really about just like owning that and stepping into that. And if you're on the red carpet, like sure, that can mean like a really fancy ball gown. But you know, if you're like a mom, or if you're a student, if you're just like a normal person with a job, it doesn't need to be this like Amal Clooney Chanel suits. It's just really about thinking like, what are my situations? How can I really bring this like very unique kind of like the persona, the extravagance, this like interest, this like interest I have as a person. How can I bring it to this situation, and how can I like make that impact? How can I be, again, like seen, received, perhaps like respected, have my voice heard, have like myself, like be able to make the impact I want on my environment and the people, or like a really good impact I know a lot of write-up women want to make is they really want to connect, because they really like, they're very passionate about the things they're doing, and they really want to like click into the group or the space, and they really want to be like received so they can make the contribution. So that's a really good like impact. Okay, that's the write-up lady. Now I'm going to talk about the write-down lady. That's our illuminatrix and the sweetheart. So for the write-down lady, you are choosing your clothes based on your context, situations, environments, but you are ultimately dressing for the self-approval, the self-satisfaction. And I think that this is like such a beautiful way of being, because what you're really doing is, as I'm talking a lot about in the write down video, is I really see these women as being very like radiant and luminous, and you know, really like bringing so much kind of like light. That's why I guess, I mean, the archetype is literally the illuminatrix, right? She's like illuminating everything. So I think a lot of the times what I see for the write down women is really bringing their energy to the situations, but this very like personable, intuitive, like non-fussy like energy. So that's why I really encourage you to kind of think about like, okay, well, what is the context? You know, who am I seeing? What am I doing? But then what you really want to do is like ask yourself, like, how can I show up in these situations and these contexts in a way that feels so true to me, you know? So sometimes write down women maybe think like everything has to be super minimal because it needs to be intuitive, so I can't wear earrings or makeup. And that's not what I mean. I'm just encouraging you to wear whatever accessories and makeup, etc., that feels like it allows you to really participate in this situation and really bring your like unique, just like completely perfect write down energy into that, because that's what people really want from you. All they want is just to like be like with you while you're like being yourself. And that is like really, really cool. And I know like a lot of write down women worry a lot, and they think like, oh, I need to maybe make more of an impact, or I need my clothes to be kind of more interesting, or you know, am I like worried that my clothes are a little bit plain? But it's like, yes, you don't have to keep your clothes super plain. You can have a lot of fun. You can use details and colors and textures. So you probably can, most people I've seen can like upgrade the interestness of their clothes a bit. Like that's true. But at the same time, like you don't need to change the overall like approach you have to clothes, which is like, if it's just like feels good for you and you're like happy with how you're being there, you don't need to be like impressing other people. You don't need your clothes to be like making this impact, if that makes sense. So the left down lady, she is deciding things based, like picking out clothes based on how she feels, what she wants to express. And the thing you're trying to accomplish with that is this like self-approval, just feeling good. So like, you know, the left down and the right up lady, they're quite opposite, right? In the left down, it's really very you-centered. And it's so funny because a lot of the left down clients I work with are like, yeah, duh, like what else, how else would I even think about clothes? And I'm like, well, there's like 3 other ways. So I think for a lot of left down women, this is very, very natural. And if so, like, that's great. But for some other left down women I work with, there's a lot of like kind of guilt and shame about this. Like, you know, am I really allowed to just dress for me? Like, what are you saying to me, Rita? You know, that's kind of a response I get a lot. And some people I see trying to escape the left down quadrant, it's just a little bit spooky to be like, oh, I just do this for me, I'm just doing me. But that is like your great strength. That's why the left down archetypes are like the outsider or the seductress. It's really about like you're doing things your way. and that is really what gives you like your power. And that's just kind of like the main aesthetic you want to communicate. You want to be communicating in the aesthetic that, you know, you do use these kind of very sensual, intriguing, enveloping kind of style, but you're communicating it in this very personable, very intuitive, like delicate styling. So it should never feel artificial. It should never feel forced, because it should really be about like you just being purely yourself and purely authentic. And the big struggle I've seen for left-down women is that you do often resort to this like situation style thinking and start thinking like, well, my friend circle, it's really important for people to look really like expensive and chic and kind of like really trying to look very young, like styling ourselves like we're really young. So I kind of feel like I need to do that, you know. Or like, well, I'm a mom, and with moms, they shouldn't wear like, you know, like dresses with a slit on the leg, you know, that shows like the top of your thigh. Like, can a mom do that? You know, and there's a lot of like questions. So I really urge you as a left-down person to like redirect some of these concerns away, like have them, you know, these are separate identity questions perhaps, but in terms of clothes and like choosing fashion and thinking like, what do I need to wear? Instead of thinking like, you know, I'm a mom now, or I'm a student, here's what students wear. I would really encourage you to be like, okay, like I am me, and like I want to wear this. And I promise you all of those like important filters of like, well, I'm a student, so I shouldn't dress too fancy, or I'm a mom, so I shouldn't dress too sexy. Whatever is true for you about those things will come through anyway if you really make your dressing about you. And this also pertains to special events. So I would never suggest that you kind of disrespect a fancy event by like coming in a way that is like underdressed in a disrespectful way. But at the same time, within like the scale of what is like appropriate, if you as a person like to keep things kind of like more you feeling, and like you really lose that vibe of you when you dress up. This also goes a bit for the right-down people. It's like when you're trying to do that and you're trying to dress to make this impact, to show like I took this seriously, it can be a bit detrimental, because then it kind of clouds who you are as a person, and it's not letting you kind of be you. That's what I find is a bit challenging. So that's kind of my main wrap up on Left+Down. So as you may have seen in this video, I think that there are some really interesting things going on kind of in my essence system on the diagonals. I find a lot of people have a lot of exploration in the quadrant that is opposite from them, and sometimes wanting to place yourself there, or trying to just dress that way for a while to bring out something new in yourself. And I think this is like really interesting to think about from this logic of dressing perspective. Really, like, for example, if you're a right-up person who's really dressed for situations and for impact, it can be like very healing and fun and exciting to dress just for you. Like, and it doesn't mean you're being false to yourself. It could just be this like beautiful exploration in your life. If you, for example, have like an illness and want to reconnect with the body, or if you're having a big life change, or just to like mix things up. You know, the other way also, if you've been in the Left+Down, it can be really fun and beautiful to exercise this kind of right-upness and own like more your power, and be like, I can dress for impact, I can dress for situations, I can be like this inspiring person. You know, it can be like really fun. And it doesn't mean, yeah, you're doing something wrong, because my essence system is really not about like putting you in a box and telling you to stay there. That is just not interesting to me at all, because that is not how life works, or if like I don't want life to work that way to the extent that it might sometimes. So these are my reflections on the logic for 4 quadrants. I have some other very exciting videos coming up, and you know, you can always like drop your questions to me at questions@stylethoughtsbyrita.com, or leave them here, or Instagram me. You know, don't always respond because I just have a lot going on, but I really love to hear from like users of the system and anything, like any of your thoughts or reflections. So yeah, let me know what you think. Bye.